Thank you for joining us on the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Today on the program, Lagos reels out tough measures for transporters to contain spread of coronavirus. Inspector General of Police speaks on war against Kaduna bandits, and kidnappers expresses happiness with the new strategy with the Nigerian Air Force. And later on the show, Governor's Advisory Council meets with Lagos Speaker Obasa and 4 others, resolves lingering crisis at the State Assembly. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Utitoju and Cyril Abako. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. As Lagos, Nigeria's commercial NAF center is becoming the most hit by the coronavirus pandemic in the country, the state government is tightening measures to contain it. It has ruled out tough measures for transporters to control the way they move more than 20 million residents of Lagos around. According to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, nothing will be spared to ensure that the virus is tamed. Babajide, in the next 24 hours, we are going to have a lockdown in Lagos, partial closure of markets, apart from those selling food, and now transporters will now be involved in the way they convey crowds. I still saw people waiting for BRT yesterday and still had to struggle to go inside, get access into the BRT buses. So Lagos is
tightening the screw.
Yes, and for us to just make sure that this pandemic does not spread in Lagos.
Well, let me go into some of the details so that at least the viewers can have an idea of what the transporters are required to do. Whether they are doing it is a different kettle of fish, but the stipulations are there. 1, they must sanitize their parks and garages regularly before and after any trip. 2, washing hand equipment with soap and running water must be available at the parks, which means that they have to create.
Yes.
They will get the plumbers to create
water
where the people can wash hands. Operators must have alcohol-based sanitizers in their vehicles. No overload, overcrowding of passengers. Passengers' pacing must be fully observed. And the recommended, and what the NCDC recommends is 5 feet distance. That means in their vehicles, the passengers must sit 5 feet apart. No standing in all BRT and LBSL buses. All air conditioning in public transport to be put off. That means in public transport, you cannot use air conditioners.
Like those BRT buses,
you must switch off the air conditioners. All public transportations, public transporters must have temperature reader to test each passenger before boarding the bus. All buses must be at 60% capacity. That means you cannot fill your bus to capacity. If your bus is meant to carry 10 passengers, you are not supposed to carry more than 6. So that is the thing. Then drivers are to wear hand gloves and nose guards. Passengers are required to report non-compliance by operators. The elephant in the room is clear. How do we get these people?
And you RTW people.
Yes.
To comply
How do
with
we
this
get them? Because I looked at all of these stipulations. Honestly, I said I want to deceive myself. I don't see how
It's quite
drivers in Lagos
States
will be able to comply
especially
with all of
the
this.
crop of every RTW members.
I don't see
on
how
a daily basis how they are going to.
And all of them, they will hold the temperature reader.
That is if it's not drunk.
And then, okay, you know. even at the motor parks, you see the government has to move ahead and do some of these things by itself. All governments regulated motor parks must have the facility for people to wash their hands. You can't wait for transporters to go and do that. It will not, these transporters will not do it. We have to support them. We have to encourage them. We have to goad them. We have to push them as hard as we can to meet all of these stipulations, because I don't see that. You see, sanitizers are even an issue now.
Honestly,
to get sanitizers, the original, you know, the NAFDAC DG was saying that NAFDAC has ramped up confirmation of the authenticity of some of those things, you know, because NAFDAC has to put a seal before you can be sure that the sanitizer is okay. And the woman is saying that usually the process is a bit slow. But because we are in a dangerous season, the woman said that they've now scaled up or ramped up the process so that at least people can manufacture as many sanitizers as possible. But a lot of what you see out there are actually fake. You and I know that a lot of them are fake. Now, we want drivers to make sure that they put all of that, put sanitizers in their buses, and that passengers must use the sanitizers before they board their buses, except we mandate people, put sheriffs in those motor parks who would actually supervise these things, these processes, and ensure if we leave it to drivers.
As I was coming into the office now, the security man accosted me that I should go to the sanitizer. Yes. It's mandatory. I should just go and put sanitizer in my hand before I was allowed into the
so that you don't infect the rest of us.
So if there's somebody like that to enforce it, and I don't know how slow the process might get.
And you know our people are impatient. That is one problem.
And you want to enforce 60%.
60% passenger
distance.
Today when we were coming, I saw clearly that some buses were already even over full, but they were still standing. I mean, they were still parking by the roadside, trying to pack more passengers. So already your bus was full. You can't even reason that, okay, this is a different season. You still want to do things the way you've always done them.
Still, now the way the Lagos State government is like, Lagos State is just like a pace setter when it comes to the fight against this scourge. And how will you assess the exercise so far?
Well, I think that the government does understand the danger it is up against. There is clear understanding. And when you look at the measures being doled out, they should ideally give us traction, or they should put us ahead of the curve in dealing with the pandemic, which of course has come to our own shores as well. But I would wish that this conversation that we're having, you know, we're talking among ourselves and we can understand the grammar that we're speaking, but to reach these downfall drivers, and the people
that's what we are trying to say.
Talking about.
Would they be?
I wish we could even be communicating either in Yoruba or in Pidgin English, because at the end of the day, I think this afternoon, Olawakon was out, you know, and he was trying to even do a live at 4. We saw that the chairman of the NURTW in Lagos, Muslim Akinson, I think, he was going around parks and trying to enforce the social distancing order in buses. But the fact is that in spite of the state government saying civil servants should work from home, it is still difficult to contain the population in Lagos State. It is still difficult. This afternoon, Sarah was out, you know, at markets trying to... Interestingly,
close to 20 million.
Many a market woman is not aware that there is a new pandemic in town called coronavirus, and that certain steps must be taken for self-prevention first of all. They are not aware. So I think that taking measures is one thing, but stepping down and spreading deliberate awareness is what we must not fail to do. Some days ago, no, I think it was yesterday, I saw a video that came online. I don't know when it was shot, but obviously it was not a government video. It was anti-coronavirus campaign in a local language. Let me even be specific, you know, in Calabar language. And I was like, this is very brilliant. But why don't we do this in virtually all the languages? And maybe it's been done, I don't know, but by now, we could even get town criers back out to go to markets and tell people this is a thing like this is in town, and nothing should be taken off the table in dealing with it. Because now there's a great conflict. Market women and bus drivers in what they call, is it daily rate or so? Daily pay. So if he makes 3,000 naira daily to as a means of livelihood, if you tell them to carry only 2 passengers on their buses or 3 passengers per seat. So from Ojo-Legba to Mile 12 to Ikorodu, for instance, where he would have made 1,400 on top of the money he used to buy fuel and maintenance, he now will make maybe 300 naira. You want to kill him now?
And they will deliver to the owner of the bus.
Yes.
It means you want to kill him.
And they will still pay some
that's important.
dues.
He has to deliver to the owner. Because
That's the paramount.
Sure.
And the owner is not concerned
About
how much you spend at the mechanics.
Of course, he does
workshop.
not care.
All you is after is deliver.
Illiterate.
Even
And so
he's not concerned with the 60%.
he is not. There are some people.
So that one will affect the number of passengers that they carry, will affect the bottom line.
Yes.
It will. Now you see, after 2015, I know some people who after 2014 or 15, when the Ebola thing broke out, made sanitizers part of their daily routine, you know. But perhaps when we realize that as a people like this, our health sector has issues, we could have, we could have made sanitizers in public places a must, so that when this sort of thing breaks out, people already, it's a way of life. If you put a sanitizer now, before 5 minutes, it will finish. But if we had made it a way of life between that time and now, we would have imbibed it.
I think even the cheaper option is water and soap. Any soap
wash
that
very well.
foams,
Wash the hand very
any
well.
soap that gives you rich lather is a lot cheaper. But that is if you have running water, constant running water in that community. So that is a problem. In some of our big communities, running water is even a luxury.
It is.
People have to provide their own water. So it's a big problem.
If you go to places like Bayelsa now,
So we markets, if we have
the
those...
water from the well, it's petrol that will be coming out from.
No, it's even in Lagos. There are some houses. There are people put out, somebody has a borehole and then throw some pipes out for people to come and be fetching. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's bought. So access to water is not as easy as we would think it should be.
Which impacts on hygiene. in the end.
Sure it does. And so clearly we are fighting from behind. But what can we do? What can we really do? I think that we should sensitize them more. We should sensitize them more. Ayo, if the message of personal hygiene on coronavirus is not getting to people in the
Grassroots.
it is never their fault. Look at what's happening in Italy. Even in Italy and on Saturday in the UK, as I speak to you in Sweden, people are going to pubs and they say, lock down my foot. That is Sweden. In the UK, on Saturday, people were going to parks. They said, to hell with the order. In Italy, when government said, lock down and stay home, people who love pleasure, they kept on going.
That's the problem.
Sure.
They've arrested 91,000 now in Italy. Those who
91,000.
broke the sit-at-home order.
That's the problem in itself.
91,000.
There are
How
many
do you-
museums.
How do you?
There are many artifacts. There's a lot of tourism to be done. So when you tell them stay home, they say, what are we going to stay home for? But this is the issue, Ayo. So
Some will say they want to jog. So and what the authorities are saying is this the time to jog? No, let me just jog. They are already tired. It's difficult to
You can't
keep
stay at
people
home,
in
quarantine
peacetime.
people. Yes.
To keep people permanently inside their houses. It's difficult because when you look at what's happening in Italy, the truth is nobody knows exactly when Italy will turn the curve. You just can't say with finality that, look, after 3 months or 2 months, because it's such a big problem in Italy. So but you still are insisting that they should remain inside their homes. Indefinite lockdown is something that those people will find extremely difficult, especially the young people.
Yeah.
You tell them they can't go to bars, you can't go to beaches,
Nightclubs.
you know, they can't go to casinos. I mean, they've been used to going to these places more like breathing in and breathing out. You are now saying, no, indefinitely stay in your homes. India, I can understand India, it's 21 days. This lockdown will last 21 days. They can begin to count from the first minute.
Even 21 days to do it in Nigeria.
In the case of Italy, it's an indefinite lockdown. Because as long as the death toll continues to mount in that country, there's no way anybody will consider lifting the lockdown. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. I just hope that Siri said that we can do a lot more sensitization of our people. A lot of our illiterate people still believe that this thing is a hoax. They still believe that this thing does not exist. Look at the person that was interviewed in the market and was saying, see Corona in Nigeria. At this stage, where it's already killing people in Nigeria.
I even saw a video of some Ekiti people, they were clapping and they say, Corona, they don't know me, and they were, you know. But the bottom line is still containment now. You know what what they're experiencing in Italy, in Spain, in the United States, even in the UK right now. Now, if we have that kind of situation in our hands, do we have the capacity to deal with it?
We may not gather in churches and mosques, but I disagree with people who say that prayer will not help us. We need to pray. Let me tell you the truth. If you send a policeman to enforce or soldier to enforce coronavirus lockdown, all that all that somebody needs to do is to sneeze. He will run away. Is it not true?
You want to kill him,
because you have a gun.
Abi?
You have a gun. But all that he will do, and look, if even, I mean, to be very serious, if even in countries where we would imagine on a good day that they would have everything it will take, China built a hospital of 1,000 beds in about 6 days. In London, they're planning to build a hospital of 4,000 beds in London. We can't boast such things. In fact, you hear private companies who are now saying that they're going to go to certain stadia to build beds and so on. We don't have the capacity for that broad and sweeping response.
Right now, we don't even have the money.
So
we are broke.
So if you don't have that, do what the Italian Prime Minister has said, that God has to help them. So I think
the man has almost given up. He said, from the look of things, that the only place we can turn to now
is God.
Is up there, because they've done
everything
all that they could do within the circumstances, within the limits of their capacity, and it's just watching people dying.
And it is what Ayo, sorry, please. I have to say this also. We have learned from the Bible that war, famine, disease, and plagues, they kind of go pari passu. I think in the book of Ezekiel. So there is something. Let us cry out. A disease that even doctors don't have complete knowledge about what it is. How long does the virus stay on the surface? Nobody knows.
Now, because it's still new.
Of course it is.
People are still...
And so at this level...
Some are arguing that, it is not airborne. But even the WHO is reviewing the notion that it is not airborne.
Yeah.
So every day people are learning. I told you yesterday that I was reading and ear, nose, and throat experts in the US said, look, if you suspect that you've lost your sense of smell, that is one of the symptoms. So you see, the thing is, we are deeply religious in our country. What some of us don't want to see is for prayer to supersede concrete efforts to address this problem. We already know the things that we need to do and the things that we shouldn't do.
While we're building churches, we're building hospitals.
If we now tell ourselves, that's a matter for a whole program.
I'm telling you.
Don't even take me there. So if we now track the efforts that will get us out of this mess, and we now just focus on prayer, we are going to churches, we are holding each other's hands, we are doing Jumat, and we are doing all that, things will get worse. We just need to, as we are praying to God, because we believe in Him, we believe that there's a ruler of the universe. As we are doing that, we are also taking concrete steps.
Expanding those hospitals, the facilities.
That the drug, that they will find the drug that will save us. So exactly. Once that drug comes and is accepted, we will defeat the virus.
All right. If the ongoing war against bandits and kidnappers in Kaduna State by the Nigerian police is sustained, then we might begin to say goodbye to the twin terror that had ravaged the northwest states. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammadu Adamu, who spoke with Babajide Kolade Otitoju on the war against bandits and kidnappers, expressed joy that the new synergy with the Nigerian Air Force is bearing fruit in the war to wipe out the criminals from Kaduna State. Let's share the interview with you.
The armed banditry that is going on in Kaduna State. Some time ago, you lost some of your IRC members to an ambush by the bandits, and the attacks have not stopped. What are the efforts that you are making to ensure that these bandits are defeated once and for all in Kaduna State?
As everybody is aware, the situation in Kaduna and its environment, not only Kaduna but other areas like Niger State, Zamfara, and some parts of Katsina State have been areas where these bandits have been operating. And there have been a series of attempts to stop them from their attacks by the state governors. They tried to come up with some initiatives that will engage the bandits so that they can give up arms and then take up to lawful livelihood. Some have accepted and have left banditry, but some have not. Those that have not accepted, those that have not repented are still operating, and for that reason we've also stepped up our operation to make sure that we don't give them space to operate. Recently we operated around a notorious camp in the forest being occupied by Islamic State of West African province. They are a terrorist group joined by Boko Haram. We stormed that place and we were able to dislodge them and then destroy the camp. That is at Kuduru in Kaduna. Then we sustained the operation by going to Giwa local government and Igabi local government. We operated sometimes in February there, and we were able to destroy some camps and then inflicted a lot of casualties on the bandits. And we went to some camps again around Walawa, Yadi, and the environs, and were able also, with the support of the Air Force, were able also to destroy the camps and then inflicted a lot of casualties on them. We will continue these operations to make sure that we remove all the bandits around those areas, including Niger State and Katsina and Zamfara. The success of the operation is the determination that our officers have to take the fight to the camps of these bandits. And we were kind of, our morale is high because of the fighting equipment that the federal government gave us. Mr. President recently launched some vehicles and armored personnel carriers, and those are the equipment we are using in fighting these bandits. because of the agility of the equipment, our personnel are well protected, and their morale is so high that when they are inside the equipment, they don't fear anybody. So the operation will continue, and successes are recorded when we synergize. We are in constant synergy with the Air Force. The terrain that is so difficult for us to enter, we bring in the Air Force to give us air support, and that is helping us so much. When they operate from the air, we go on ground. And with this strategy, I feel there will be no hiding space for the bandits, because I believe there are not at all so much that we cannot engage, and I believe, and I'm sure the equipment we are using is far greater than what they have. What is needed for us to do is to synergize, and where we have difficult terrain, we found ways of utilizing the forces that can take care of those terrains, which is coming from the air.
Still on Kaduna, I want to talk about the Kaduna-Abuja highway. For some time now, people have seen that road as being dangerous for people to travel on. And then recently, the FAAN declared the airport road, the Kaduna airport road, unsafe. What is the strategy that you are putting in place to ensure that these two flashpoints that you talked about are kept safe for travelers?
You mean FAA, and that is
Yes,
Federal Airport Authority?
Yes, the road leading to the airport.
From?
That's the Mando area.
Oh, within Kaduna?
Within Kaduna.
Oh, okay. No, that is a Brutu area.
Yes,
those are
forests.
Yes, yes. These are the areas we are clearing. And don't forget that the Air Force has created a base also in Binongwari. And apart from the patrol that our personnel and the military are doing along that road, the camps that are close to the road are these camps that we've taken them out. So the bandits will never be there again. And now we'll continue to sustain our patrol. And also sustaining the removal of the camps will also secure that road.
The Inspector General of Police, with in an exclusive interview with Baba Jide Kolade Otitoju. Jide, what this is telling us now is that instead of the normal the normal practice of inviting the military to come and wipe out bandits in Kaduna and some other areas, that the police, they have what it takes. They have the capacity of taking those bandits head on. And from what we saw earlier, so how far have they gone?
The police are showing now that they can do what the surface troops can do. You saw what happened in Borno State when the police took on Boko Haram and recovered 2 gun trucks that had been taken from the Nigerian army. I think that the policemen who led the operation deserve to be promoted, because we had not seen that kind of good performance by the police in a long time. The police, especially the police mobile force, is capable of playing the role that we have now literally given to soldiers. The police, if they are provided with the equipment that they require, they can do that. The policemen who took out the Boko Haram fighters in Borno State on that dangerous Maiduguri-Damaturu highway, they had APC. That was what they relied on. And they defeated the enemy. Recovered the gun trucks that had been seized from the Nigerian army. So it is possible. Remember also that the other day, the Nigerian police went into the Nigerian police special forces went into the forest where the Ansaru faction, the old faction of Boko Haram, was hibernating, and they took them out. So we need to encourage them to continue this kind of missions. And I'm happy to hear that they are now, even when they now need help, they just tell the Air Force,
have a synergy with the Air Force.
Yes, we want to take out these people. We are embarking on this mission. Come and help us. We are facing some difficulty. Come and soften the ground for us, which is the way the Army and the Air Force should actually be working. So they are doing that now. Some of those missions are coordinated with the Air Force, and we are getting results. In fact, I saw something that the Air Force spokesman posted, where he admitted that that mission was led by the police. I'm so happy to hear that our police are beginning to do this, because once we provide what they need, they can do it. The IRT guys can do it. The IRT guys can be involved in combat missions, just like the Army. The police mobile force, they can embark on combat missions like the Army. The police special forces can do that. And don't also forget that some policemen were even sent to the northeast to get training, because we have the Nigerian Army Special Forces School is somewhere in Yobe State. We now the police are being sent there to get some training, because we can't just leave everything to the Army. We can't leave it to the Army.
Overwhelmed.
They'll be overwhelmed. So the police must continue to do this, and I congratulate the IG for the successes that have been recorded. But as I said to him, I will not keep quiet until Kaduna is kept safe. I told the IG that I will not. This has nothing to do with anybody. I want to see that state safe again. That state, I was born in that state. I can't sit back and be happy that Kaduna is turning to the headquarters of Armed Bandits. No, that has to change. And I'm happy that the IG has his plans to make the state safer again.
See, talking about Kaduna now, the IG has said it that special focus and attention will be, will be beamed on to that Kaduna-Abuja Express Road, and even the airports that is like a no-go area.
Of course, that road is not just a road. It's a critical point, a city that is close to the, first of all, to the capital city of the country, which means it plays host to a number of big dignitaries who fly that route. To leave such a road to bandits, to surrender, or to let it, to let bandits have the final say on a road like that, would not augur well for national security at all.
Like taking over the road entirely.
Yes, not because the lives of common people don't matter, but if bandits can sufficiently impose themselves on a road like that, then there's a problem. But I'm glad that, contrary to what many Nigerians think about the police, and I'm glad he named quite a number of them, the special forces component of the Nigerian police force is more than enough, if they're equipped and have the right leadership, to deal with, from terrorism to banditry to kidnapping to cattle rustling. They have more than what it takes to nip every single criminal case in Nigeria in the bud. The question is that, how well are we going to let security politics give way to security policy to deal with these issues? Because the fact is that you ask yourself the question, this same police that is now waking up to deal with these issues, were they not always there all the time? They were there. But Ayo, you and I saw in living daylight when the people who went to take Wadume, Bala Hamisu from Adamawa came under ambush. You know, that kind of thing. So we must deal with the sources of intelligence gathering. Good to see that the Air Force and the police are collaborating in such a critical way, so that in the end we realize that winning the war, regardless of who is at the front line, Nigeria is the ultimate winner. And so if you keep Kaduna safe, you keep the rest of us also safe. So it's, for me, it's a thing of joy. And then to prove that the Nigerian police has what it takes indeed to deal with these issues, I think it's a good pointer for everyone.
Okay, we'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. So, journalist Tanga, we'll be right back after this breather. In case you're just joining us, this is Journalist Tanga. Jide, you agree with me that funding plays a critical role in whatever the Nigerian police will want to do. Right now, they are grossly underfunded. The Inspector General of Police was quoted at a point in time saying that they needed 250,000 rifles and a breakdown of basic things. And coming from, even from the 2020 budget, if you go and look at what was budgeted for the Nigerian police and what we actually
get to them.
Yes.
It's a very difficult situation.
There's even no, when you compare us and South Africa, you see that the difference is like night and day in terms of how we fund the police. The difference is like night and day. Yet we expect the police to deliver at all times. We expect them to be able to secure us. How will they be able to secure us when the tools that they need have not been provided? Civil servants sit on money appropriated to the police. In a whole budget cycle, maybe just a fraction of that money eventually gets to the police. Yet you want them to do so much. Go to a police barracks and see the decrepit state of a lot of the police barracks. It's terrible. We have to solve the problem of funding. I know that there have been attempts to ensure that the police that will come up with legal backing for some of the initiatives that the people have come up with to help fund the police better. We have to keep working at it, and ultimately the National Assembly should be able to pass a law that ensures that funding for the police is much more substantial than what they get currently. Maybe from the taxes that corporate concerns pay in our country, we can say a particular percentage should go to the funding of the police. But we have to do something. A situation where policemen buy their boots by themselves, they buy their own uniforms, is something that should no longer be happening.
So, funding for the police.
Yes, it's true, because when what the police does is not primarily the function of the rifles or even the clothes they wear, but it's first of all about what we have invested in them as human beings, as human resources. How many police stations have computers?
Computers.
How many policemen? You know this joke about if you call a policeman that there's a robbery in your neighborhood, they wouldn't come. If you call him that there were Yahoo boys, they will run down there. There's an image problem. The image problem arose as a result of the conditions in which policemen found themselves for a long time. And so, because of that conditioning, it has also shaped the behavioral pattern, and people have come to stigmatize and stereotype that every policeman is the same. I think, Ayo, we need to understand that philosophically, the police is not just people who go to arrest. Anyway, if somebody was innocent of a crime and the policeman came after him, does he have enough confidence to be happy that eventually he'll be set free because he knows he's free? Not in Nigeria. The police should be your first point of contact with the state, knowing that if you are right, you'll be proven right. If you are wrong, it will be the case. But in Nigeria, there's so much, the gap between the citizen and the policeman is too wide. And that's unhealthy. If you want to fix Nigeria, you may begin with the police. Because that is why the citizen meets the state. Like I say it again, that is why the citizen meets the state. If somebody missed his way and went to a police barracks, maybe in the 70s or in the 80s, he could be sure that, he will be safe, and the following day he could go to his house. Today, people dread police. In fact, once you're a police station, they know that is the last place to look for justice. How do we address this issue? We need to begin to work on the minds of policemen. Not just in word, but in deed. Like he has said, fund them, provide what if we have a police force that has the capacity to deal with all our criminal problems, and we instead of funding them, we keep them in a corner, and we have voted almost for army or how much trillion to the army that has not been able to rout Boko Haram alone. That goes to tell us that our priorities in terms are even misplaced. So I think let's go back to where we should begin from, to the police. Fund them, boost their morale, motivate them, and get them back on track.
And finally, in politics, the capacity to agree and come round to agree is something that is priceless. Over the past weeks, the Lagos State House of Assembly was embroiled in some sort of crisis, leading to the suspension of 4 members and the removal of 2 principal officers from their positions. The crisis climaxed with the locking of the legislative offices of the lawmakers with padlocks. But peace is on the way to the troubled house after intervention of the Governor's Advisory Council, that's GAC in the state. The GAC met with the Speaker, Bodashiri Obasa, and the 4 lawmakers, and needed reconciliation is being achieved. Babajide, over and over again, the head of our legislative arms, maybe the Speaker or State House of Assembly Speaker, there have been court cases and that has said that no, you don't have rights to deny the constituency of these people, apart from the 2 weeks that you cannot suspend lawmakers indefinitely. Again, the Speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly has looked away another way that law by suspending 4 of his lawmakers indefinitely.
Yes, first and foremost, I have to congratulate the GAC members for stepping in, because this is what you expect to see where we have elders. Young people may misbehave, young people may do odd things, but where there are elders, the elders will step in and try to solve the problem. Just show them that, look, this is not the way to do things. The man who is the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly is a young man. No matter how much powers he has now, he's a young man. We know that he's a young man, at least not as old as some of us. So, and those Babas and the GAC, Baba, Lucy, and the rest of them, they have seen so much. They will be able to say, look, this is the way to go, so that the party in the state, because all of them are products of the APC, they are products of the party. Nobody can be bigger than the party. The man who is the secretary of the party in the state affirmed that these persons did not get fair hearing. But in spite of that, the Speaker has refused to lift their suspension. In fact, Speaker Obasa did something that really shocked me, because I used to see him as a gentleman. You suspended people. After suspending them, you then set up a committee. That means you put the cart before the horse. You are supposed to first try them. And that's why if those guys go to court, they will win the case. But I know that they are good party men, and they would rather want to see all the avenues for resolution explored before going. If they decided to go to court, the way Dino Melaye went to court, the way Ndumen went to court. In fact, I remember Ndumen was asked to apologize. He refused, because he knew we would win in court.
We got justice in court.
His governor then, Kashim Shettima, led people to go and beg Bukola Saraki. But Ndumen refused to apologize. And at the end of the day, Bukola Saraki lost the matter.
The Speaker Obasa is just first among equals.
Yes.
He was voted the same way.
He is not superior to all those people. You know, people have been accusing us, so you are not talking about this matter. Because for me, I knew that time will come when these leaders will intervene and there will be peace again. But some of what we have seen, I mean, look at the people that are suspended. Oshun is a 4th timer. These are experienced lawmakers. Abiru is a 4th timer. You know? The people, those are the principal officers. The other people, 3rd timer.
Jimo.
Yes, you know, 3rd timer. Yes, the 2 of them, 3rd timer. So what we are saying here is you must give people fair hearing. You can't, even if you acquire all the powers in the world, which you do not have,
The wealth.
you must give people fair hearing. You can't just suspend people. And these are representatives of the people. Indefinitely. Where did you get that power? Which constitution? Show me the constitution that says you can suspend people indefinitely. Where? And then you move. Look,
legislators that were voted for.
Let's even look at it from the moral standpoint. Because our politicians misbehave a lot. And that's my quarrel with them. Let's even look at it from the moral standpoint. These guys have legislative aids. You also shut those ones out because by the second day, you lock the gates against them.
All their
and lock
aids.
their offices. So, and what the courts are saying is, you can't deny a people representation indefinitely. You can't. All the other people, the Meji Bankole did it, he lost the case. Bukola Saraki, he lost to Omar Agege, he lost to Alion Dume.
The offices the next day. This is what.
You know, he lost to Alion Dume. Dino Melaye, as stubborn as he was then, he still managed to win the case in court because the law is the law.
It has never been in favor of
this kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's no parallel that Speaker Obasa can point to.
There's
no parallel. There is nowhere he can say that he derived the power to suspend anybody indefinitely. So the good thing, the Babas are intervening because the people from those constituencies are complaining and say, Jide Yuepu choose not to talk about this. Is it right for us to be denied representation? Is it right?
Civil society activists.
So this is the thing. We hope that sanity will eventually prevail.
See, what do you make of this tyranny?
Because that's what it is.
You've already called you the name.
No, he knows that you are a man of words. That you probably find a better word. That's why he's thinking, okay, before you look for your own one, let me drop my own.
Yes. No, but I think that the capacity of the elders to intervene and find balance to these interests is important. The fact is that the law is the law. And lawmakers are the ones who make the law. We would expect that they would usually be the best example, so to speak, of the laws they make. They are custodians. But when these sort of things happen, so I think that, given the precedent that he has even cited, from time to time, we get to tipping points. We must put an end to it. How do we do that? In Lagos, for instance, the GAC has come together to say, no, let it be resolved this way. Elders have spoken, it's important. But I think that at the party level to, finding ways of, these things should have been simmering for some time. And maybe people didn't think it would get to that point. So it is important that internal control mechanisms are strengthened to make sure that whenever we have, disagreements will always come. You can't take it away. But yes, we must find better, maturer, more civilized ways of balancing interests within the system, within the party, so that it doesn't, play out too much. For now, what we see or what we know is that these people that have been suspended, that now there's an intervention. But I think that for a speaker who went for the overkill, something may give eventually. I don't know. But because if he even took that step against advice.
Look at the Agada Godo that they used to. In the modern age, we are using this kind of law.
For going for the overkill, I just hope that in time, all of these things will be put where they belong, and then there'll be peace. I think that's what we all want ultimately. That peace.
Can you imagine?
See the Agada Godo.
That peace. Suspending 4 members indefinitely and locking at 8.
Even the other people, you
Even
see the thing is, those two guys, the principal officers were not even suspended. What they did was he demoted them. At least that was the announcement.
That was made in the floor of the house.
Then suddenly we just felt, okay, what?
Okay, all of them should go.
Yes, we just, I can suspend them. But that's not what you announced. Then the insubordination that you are talking about, you have not defined it. Insubordination, how? Define it. Let's know. At least in the case of the Senate, they accused they accused Omar Agege of going to court. And the judge said, no, there's no law that says that the Senate cannot be taken to court. There's no such law. Because Bukola Saraki was waxing lyrical and playing the Greek god when he said, "Oh, you moved. Why did you against the convention of the Senate take the Senate to court?" But the Nigerian Constitution is superior to everyone, and that the court of law in our country is a place where everybody is free to go. Otherwise, there will be tyranny. And they went there and the judge, I think Justice Soho said, no, there is no law that says that someone that is an offense to go to court. So that is the thing. So here we are, history repeating itself in a very crude manner. We cannot have a situation in which lawmakers get suspended indefinitely. When you do that, you are not just punishing the lawmaker, you are punishing his constituents because you deny their representation. And that's why the law is clear about the time limit. So once that is breached, it's an exercise in futility. And all the money that, look at Dino, for so long, he was suspended. But the court ruled that they should pay him for all the time that he was not even there at the National Assembly. And that's the same thing that happened to Omar Gege, the same thing that happened to
so many other cases like that have been tested in the court of law and they've not actually had their way. I want to thank you, Cyril Abako, my friend from Africa. Thank you, my senior researcher. Thank you. For being on this program, DKO. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangouts on our platform showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzwako. See you tomorrow and God bless Nigeria.